Good morning, students. Today we are going to discuss about the steam generators. Steam generators are also called boilers. The basic function of the boiler is to generate the steam from the water and then supply to various needs. So since the boilers are hazardous equipment, they need to follow strict safety guidelines given by Indian Boiler Regulation Authorities. So we'll see what is the basic boiler and what are the different parts of the boiler, components of the boiler, and the function of the each component, and what are the safety regulations prescribed by IBR, that is Indian Boiler Regulations. And then we'll see some different types of boilers in this particular session. So the outline goes like this. Introduction means some basics of the boiler, and Indian Boiler Regulation IBR, and the boiler systems, classification of boilers, parts of the boiler and their functions, characteristics of a good boiler. Characteristics of the good boiler means the boiler need to comply certain aspects so that the efficiency and the safety are higher. And a comparison between the water tube and fire tube boilers is a very important one. And the construction and working of two types of boilers we will see. There are several types of boilers, but these are the two important ones which are used in most of the companies, industries. So we'll look into one fire tube boiler and one water tube boiler, which are basically used in industries. So introduction. So what is the definition? A steam boiler is also called a steam generator. It is a closed vessel in which water is heated and converted into steam at more than atmospheric pressure. So this is the important statement. A steam boiler is also called steam generator because it is generating the steam. It is called steam generator, which is a closed vessel. Which is a closed vessel in which water is heated and converted into steam. The water is heated and converted into steam, and obviously it is maintained at a pressure more than atmospheric pressure. So the steam is to be supplied at a pressure more than atmospheric pressure. So it is very obvious definition. So it is a closed vessel and it is used for converting the water into steam, and by the supply of heat which is generated from burning some fuel, and then generate the steam, and the steam is supplied at a pressure more than atmospheric pressure. So these are the fundamental aspects you have to remember. The closed vessel, which is used for steam conversion, and the steam is maintained and supplied at a pressure more than atmospheric pressure. The heat energy is generating for generating the steam is supplied by burning some fuel. Usually coal will be used. Excuse me. Usually coal will be used, and there are other furnaces in which different types of fuels are also used. Either maybe gas or oil fired furnaces also will be there. So the heat basically is generated by burning the fuel, and that is supplied to the water through some heat exchanging mechanism. What are the applications of the steam? So it is having several applications. The steam is used in many places. So the heat content in the steam is large, and thus it is suitable for process heating. So first of all, why the steam is used? So basically, when you want to carry the heat from one place to another place, or one body to another body, you need something which can carry more heat with less quantity of mass. Okay, so heat carrying capacity should be more. Basically, it means that heat carrying capacity of the working medium is important. So the water is having very high heat carrying capacity because the latent heat of water is very high. So if you are converting the water into steam, and if you are carrying the steam to wherever you want, and then you can use it for different purposes. So the basically point you have to understand is the heat content of steam is very large. Therefore, it is suitable for process heating. Process heating means in the industries there are several processes where the heat is required. So that heat will be supplied through this steam, like curing, some drying, etc. in textile industries, pharmaceutical industries, and many other industries like leather industries, many manufacturing industries. You need some heat. Wherever the heat is required, the heat coming from the steam will be used. In many industries like sugar mills, textile mills, and chemical industries, etc. So this is a very, very important thing, because unless you don't know the applications and advantages of steam, it will not appearing that whatever we are studying is relevant or not. Okay, so first you have to understand the basic things. It is also used for the power generation in thermal power plants. So this you already know, because there are many power plants which are based on the steam turbines. The power is generated from steam turbines. In that steam turbine based power plant, the steam is basically produced from boilers. So this is also basically due to the reason that the heat content is very large in the steam. Another one, due to its large heat content, steam is also used for cooking, and any uh, restaurants and hotels and all, where a lot of heat is required for producing, for cooking different items. So basically the thing is the density, heat carrying capacity, and the large heat content. This is important. The point you have to remember is large heat content in the steam. So it is used for cooking also, and the steam can also be sorry, steam can also be used for heating the buildings and producing hot water in winter. So wherever in some cold places are there, if you want to maintain some comfortable temperature for the inmates, then the steam will be supplied to heat the buildings, rooms, and other places, spaces, so that the inmates will be comfortable. And also it is used for producing the hot water in winter. And the steam is also used for creation of vacuum, ejection of gases, and sterilization. So these are the different uh, applications of the steam. So steam is a very important medium for carrying the heat, which is used in different places and industries. So the advantages of the use of steam are as follows, because it is capable of supplying process heat at a constant temperature while condensing. So here in certain process needs the process to occur at a constant temperature. So it is having the advantage to supply the heat at a constant temperature. It may get condensed during the process, but the requirement is the heat is to be supplied at a constant temperature. So that can take place. Otherwise, what you have to do, you have to take certain aspects like, and as the heat is getting transferred, if you want to maintain the temperature constant, again you have to supply some heat automatically in comparison with the temperature changes. So it is not possible in all cases by using other media. So it can supply the heat at a constant temperature. That is the important point you have to understand. It can supply the heat at a constant temperature. And another advantage is it is cheap, and it can be produced everywhere, and it is waterless, tasteless, the source of heat energy. It is a clean, odorless, and tasteless. Okay, so it is not having any side effects or any other problems like this odor or taste or any other issues will not be there with the steam. So it is a source of heat energy which is having these good qualities: clean, odorless, and tasteless. It can be used repeatedly again and again, as well as first used for power generation and then for process heating. So what is this particular point says is it can be used repeatedly. This is important point. That means the steam can be recycled every time, like after losing the heat, again it will be circulated to the boiler and then it can be heated and again it will be supplied like that. Or otherwise, first it can be used for producing the power. Later, when the quantity of heat is less, when the remaining quantity of heat is less, then it can be used for process heating, because power generation needs a high energy requirement. So when the steam is of very high temperature and having high energy content, then it will be used for power generation. And the steam which is coming out after power generation can be used for process heating. So this is the important aspect of the steam. Okay, and its flow rate can be easily controlled and readily distributed. This is also very important one, because any working medium, if you want to supply at a regulated and specified rates, then the control is very important. So you want only certain amount of heat to be supplied only for certain time, okay, or at a particular temperature. So all these aspects, which are the process parameters, basically a particular process may be having certain parameters like temperature, the pressure, and all those things. If you want to supply the heat by matching the parameters of that process, then obviously the control is required, and that control can be very easily done with the for the steam. So it is easily controllable. It is easily controllable and readily distributable. So wherever you want to distribute the steam, it is very easily done. You have to just maintain different lines of supply of steam, and you can control each line separately for its temperature, pressure, and all those things, and you can supply the heat to that particular process. So these are very important advantages of using steam for different applications. Next we will see what is the IBR says, Indian Boiler Regulations. Indian Boiler Regulation says that it is first giving the fundamental definition. Actually, this is the definition given by IBM. What can be called as a boiler? An IBR steam boiler means a closed vessel. Of course, it is a closed vessel exceeding the capacity of 22.75 liters. If the capacity of the boiler is more than 22.75 liters, then it is normally called as a boiler, and which is used expressively for generating steam under pressure. So these are the important points you have to understand. One is, it is talking about the size. That means this much size volume should be there, then only it can be classified as a boiler. Okay, and it is used for generating the steam, and it should be under pressure, is more than atmospheric pressure. So a particular vessel, a closed vessel which is having this much capacity and used for producing steam under pressure can be called as a boiler according to IBR. So it may include any mountings or other fittings attached to such a vessel which is wholly or partly under pressure when the steam is shut off. This is another important requirement of this boiler definition. There may be some mountings, like there may be some safety valve, some pressure gauge, or some kind of mountings on the vessel. On the vessel, there are some fittings or mountings attached, okay, and which is wholly or partly under pressure. The vessel must be either wholly or partly under pressure when the steam is shut off. That means if the vessel you are not using for supplying of steam, the purpose is completed. Let us say your task is completed, then you are closing the steam valve, you are closing the steam supply. So still there will be some steam in the boiler, and so the vessel will be under pressure. The vessel will be under either wholly or partly under pressure, and it is having so many mountings. So these are some important features of a boiler as per IBR. So one is, it is talking about the size and the function, generating the steam under the pressure. Okay, it is talking about size and the function, and it is also telling that they may be having certain mountings or fittings, so that you can control or you can avoid any hazards like that. Okay, so these fittings are attached to the vessel, and even if it is not supplying the steam, when it is shut off also, the vessel may be under pressure, either wholly or partly. So these are the important aspects of the boiler as per IBR. Okay, so the main features of Indian boiler regulations are as follows. So the boiler should be operated after it has been registered with the Chief Inspector of Boilers. So the boiler, when it is manufactured, it can be operated only if it is registered with the Chief Inspector of Boilers, because it is hazardous equipment. If something happens, if the boiler blasts, so much of damage either for the property or for the people will be happening. So unless it is approved by or registered with the Chief Inspector of Boilers, it should not be used. And the maximum working pressure of the boiler has to be determined by the boiler inspector. So after seeing what are the design features of the boiler, and what is the procedure followed while manufacturing the boiler, and other aspects of the safety and control measures, the boiler inspector will decide that this boiler can be operated only up to this much pressure. So you should not operate more than that pressure. Even though it is capable of operating at a higher pressure, we will not do that. That means it should not be done like that. So whatever the boiler inspector decides, only that much you have to use. In any circumstances, the operator should not run the boiler above this pressure. This is the important thing. Whatever pressure is determined by the boiler inspector, the boiler has to be operated under this pressure only, within this pressure limit only. In case of any accident, the boiler owner should submit a report containing full details and nature of cause of accident within 24 hours of occurrence of the accident. So these are all regulations. If the regulations are not there, people will do so many things, and it may prove very hazardous and expensive for the people who are working nearby, and there will be a lot of damage to the property and people also. So these regulations have to be strictly followed. If any accident takes place, immediately it has to be within 24 hours, complete data has to be submitted to the concerned authorities. And the rules and regulation procedure for registration, inspection, decision upon maximum working pressure, and other conditions, etc., are subjected to revision by central board under the control of Government of India. So once you think that the boiler inspector said that it can be operated up to 100 bar, it is not that lifelong the boiler can be operated up to 100 bar. So as the boiler is used for so many days or months or years or something like that, the parts will be deteriorated. There will be some problem with the boiler, so new problems may be coming. So periodically these things will be inspected by the people, concerned authorities, and it has to be maximum working pressure and other conditions, etc. They are subjected to revision. So after seeing the condition, they will revise the different operating parameters and procedure and all those things. And violation of any law in the Boiler Act is liable to prosecution and punishment with fine. So these are all the important regulations corresponding to. So tomorrow when you become an engineer and you are working in a boiler manufacturing company or wherever you are doing some inspection work and all those things, definitely you have to consider all these kind of aspects. Otherwise there will be a problem. Okay, and next come to the classification of boilers. So classification of boilers are according to different ways. This is first one is according to relative passage of water and hot gases. So one thing you have to understand, what will be having inside a boiler. Inside a boiler, there will be some water space, and there will be a furnace. And in the furnace, the fuel will be burned, and the hot gases will be produced in the furnace. And these hot gases will transfer their heat to the water through some heat exchanging mechanism. Okay, so water will be passing through some tubes or gases will be passing through some tubes. So the relative passage of water and hot gases, based on this, your classification is either fire tube boilers and water tube boilers. What is a fire tube boiler? Fire tube boiler means the hot gases, the flue gases, the gases which are evolved by burning of the fuel will be moving through tubes and the water will be surrounding the tubes. Understand? So suppose this is the tube and the gases are going at flue or the combustion gases. Okay, so the gases are going like this, and here you have water. Outside the tube you have water. These are water. So this is the relative arrangement. So in this first case, the gases are going from the tubes and the water is surrounding the tubes. And in the second case, it is opposite. Okay, in the second case, the water is passing through the tubes and it is surrounded by flue gases. So this is the water tube. So the water is going like this, and here some fuel is burning. These are the flue gases. It will go like this. Okay, so this is the water tube boiler. Okay, so it's a very important difference between the two types of boilers. We'll see exclusively what is a water tube boiler, what is a fire tube boiler, and a comparison of these two boilers. This is very important classification. And according to circulation of water, either it is natural circulation or forced circulation. Natural circulation means if the water temperature increases, the density decreases. So the low density water will be moving up and high density water will be coming down. So the water will be circulating naturally. It will be circulating naturally. This is the natural circulation by the density differences based on the temperature. Okay, and forced circulation means you will be using external pumps. You will be using external pumps. Pumps will be used for circulation of the water. And according to application, as it's stationary or portable, locomotive or marine boilers. So stationary means it is basically used in some industries. Where the boiler will be fixed. It is in the stationary. It is in the stationary means not moving. It is fixed. So you have to construct the boiler at one place, and from there you can supply the steam wherever you want within the industry. Portable boilers means it is a smaller size boiler and it can be moved anywhere you want. Locomotive boiler. So locomotive boiler means it is used for a locomotion purpose and the engines and all. And other one is marine boilers. Marine boilers means which are used in marine applications like ships and submarines, all those things. Okay, and another important classification is the position of the boiler. The position of the boiler. either horizontal or vertical. That means basically the boiler shell, it is a vertical or it is horizontal. Basically this is the boiler drum, either it is a vertical or horizontal. So based on this one, you have two types of boilers. And according to the furnace, whether it is internally fired or externally fired. That means internally fired means within the boiler only the furnace will be there. Within the boiler only the furnace will be, it is the integral part. The furnace will be integral part of the boiler. External means it is external. Somewhere here the fuel is burning, and these things will be supplied, the heat will be supplied through some passages, some fire tubes or whatever. Okay, so this is external fire. And other one is according to operating pressure. So low pressure boilers are there, medium pressure boilers are there, high pressure boilers are there. So basically this one and this one are used for industrial applications, and low pressures are either domestic or restaurants or anything like that, non-industrial applications. Where low pressure means up to 15 bar or something like that pressure will be there. Medium pressure means 15 to 20 or 30 bar will be there. And high pressure means around 80 bar, up to 80 bar it will go. And under high pressure, subcritical means it is operated below the critical temperature of the critical point of the water. And supercritical means, you know what is this one, supercritical and subcritical? The in the previous Rankine cycle we have already seen the saturation dome. Saturation dome is the saturation dome of water. So this is the critical point. This is the temperature and this is entropy. Okay, so this is the critical point. Critical point of water is 374 degrees centigrade and 22.1 bar. Okay, so supercritical boilers means the heat will be supplied above the critical point only. The heat will be supplied above the critical point. This is the heat. It will be operated in the critical zone only. The boilers will be, these are used in basically nuclear power plants and all, because a very high amount of high density of energy will be there. So that energy has to be extracted through this heavy water and other media, the water media, and then it will be supplied to the turbines. So where the very high rate of energy production is there, there will be supercritical boilers are used. Subcritical means it is below the critical point. The heat is produced below the critical point. It is above the critical point. And according to the charge in the furniture. Charge in the furniture means you have different types. One is the pulverized fuel. Pulverized fuel means the coal will be crushed. Coal is crushed into small pieces, small particles. The coal will be crushed and then it will be sent to the furnace. And supercharged fuel or fluidized bed. So different types of fuel burnings are there. So this is based on the charge in the furnace. Okay, so let us see the other one. This is a simple boiler. Simple boiler. This is this kind of a mechanism will be there in the household boilers also, or in the boilers which are used in some restaurants for producing decoctions, teas, and all those things. So this is a bigger size with some attachments. In the normal domestic boilers, all those things will not be there. But in some industry boilers, simple boiler, you have all these attachments. Where the operating pressures are high, you have these attachments. So you can see here This is a vertical boiler. You have seen the classification. In the classification, you have vertical boiler or horizontal boiler. So this is basically a vertical boiler. That means the drum of the boiler or the body of the boiler is vertical like this. Okay, and it is having some mountings and accessories, manhole for cleaning inside the boiler, and this is water gauge to check the water level, and this is the steam stop valve. When you are supplying the steam, you can either control or stop or regulate the flow of steam, and these are the holes. These cross tubes are there. These cross tubes are water tubes. So here this is a basically water tube boiler. That means the water is inside the tube and outside the flue gases are flowing. And this is the furnace and feed check valve. Feed check valve means you want to supply the feed water, that can be controlled by this feed check valve. And there is a grate. Grate means it is the bottom side of the furnace where on the grate the fuel will be burning, and from bottom side you can supply the air, and at the below the grate the ash and other particles will be collected. Okay, so this is the chimney where the flue gases will be going out, through which the flue gases will be going out. And the safety valve. Safety valve means it is to ensure the safety if the pressure exceeds. If the high pressure exceeds, the safety valve will blow off so that the pressure will be released and boiler will be safe. This is the cylindrical shell. And you see here where the steam is there, that is the steam space, and where the water is there, that is the water space. Okay, so this is basically a water tube boiler because the water is inside the tubes and flue gases is going outside. This is a simple boiler construction, but depending on the application and the requirement, whether how much steam is required, how much pressure is required, there are different types of boilers. So we will see some important ones. And this is the fundamental difference between the water tube boiler and fire tube boiler. Here you can see this is a fire tube boiler because here the fuel is burning here, and the flue gases are going through the tube, and outside the tube you have the water. Outside the tube you have around the tube you have the water. So this is a basically fire tube boiler. So after transmitting heat to the water, the remaining the remaining flue gases will be going out through the chimney. And this is a water tube boiler. This is a drum shell. So here this is the shell, and in this shell you have the water, and there are two headers here, and so here you are taking the water inside, and the water will be flowing through the tubes. Water will be flowing through the tubes, and the hot gases will be circulating around the tubes. So this is a water tube boiler. This is a fundamental basic water tube boiler, and you are putting some baffles here so that you are controlling the flow of the flue gas. You are controlling the flow of the flue gas so that the maximum amount of heat is transferred. Okay, so to improve the boiler efficiency, and the heated water will be coming up from this side, and due to the density differences, it will go up, and low temperature water will be here, and high temperature water will be here. So the water will be circulating by natural circulation. Natural circulation. So this is the typical arrangement of a water tube boiler and fire tube boiler. So what is the difference between water tube and fire tube? In the water tube boiler, the water will be flowing through the tubes, and flue gases will be flowing around the water tubes. In the fire tube boiler, the flue gases are going through the tubes, and these tubes are surrounded by water. So these are principal components, parts of the boiler, and then their functions. So I will simply just a one line explanation have been given. So you can, if you want more details, you can go through that book and you can study the different features of each thing. But this is the fundamental, the function of each part. Drum, it is the cylindrical shell and end heads. What is this meaning? That means there is a cylindrical shell and end heads. Okay, so this is the end head. This is the end head. Okay, so this is the cylindrical shell and this is the end head. Okay, the hemispherical or any end heads will be there. So there is a drum. Basically, it is a container or vessel for storing this water and steam. And setting, it is the foundation which supports the drum and forms the furnace and walls also. That means this drum is there and you are constructing some wall and here some furnace is there. Okay, so all this thing, all this construction is nothing but setting. Okay, the setting is the foundation and the other brickwork or any other civil work that is supporting the drum, and within that also there will be a furnace and there are some walls which are enclosing the furnace and other components of the boiler. Grate, grate means it is located below the furnace. Suppose this is the boiler. Okay, so here you have the grate and here the burning is taking place. So grate, it is the below the furnace, and what is the function of grate? The ash will come down. The burning products, the wastage of burning, that ash will come down, and also the air will be supplied. Air required for burning will be supplied through the grate. Okay, so space below the furnace for air passage and ash collection. Okay, so this is the grate. And furnace, it is the space. It is the space for burning the fuel. It is below the shell, because within the shell you have the water. You have to heat the water. So below the shell, there will be some space where the fuel is burned. So that is called furnace. And flue. Flue is nothing but the hot gases. So the passage of the hot gas. So the hot gases which are produced from burning has to move in a particular direction. Okay, so whatever passage is there for the movement of the hot gases, that is called flue. Okay, so the passage for hot gases. Okay, so it provides the direction for flue gases. And stoker, it is a mechanical system for charging the fuel. So as the fuel is continuously burned, you have to supply additional fuel. So for that, sometimes you have a mechanical system. So that is called stoker. And water wall. Water wall means the water tubes which are exposed to the furnace. Okay, suppose you take this is the furnace where the fuel is there and it is burning. It is burning, the hot gases are produced. So here you have some tubes. So these are different arrangements. Okay, so this is the perpendicular direction and this is cross direction. So some tubes are like this, some tubes are like this. Okay, so all these tubes are forming like a water tube, as a water valve. Okay, if you take other arrangement, so these are all the tubes. These are all the tubes. Okay, so all these tubes will form like a wall which is exposed to the furnace. Okay, that is called water valve. Closely packed water tubes exposed to furnace. and water space. So within the shell, some part will be water and some part will be steam. So within the shell, whatever space that is occupied by water is called water space, and whatever space that is occupied by steam, that is the steam space. And there will be some accessories. We'll see what are the different types of accessories, etc. So one is economizer and the air preheater and superheater. Economizer is used for heating the feed water. In the previous sessions, we have discussed about open feed water heater, closed feed water heater, etc. So this economizer is basically using the waste heat of waste gases. So after heating, the gases will be going out. The gases will be going out and it will be waste. It will be going through the chimney. It will be waste. Whatever heat is there within this one will be wasted. So instead of losing all the heat, some heat will be used for heating the feed water. So that is that particular heat exchanger where the feed water is heated by using the heat of waste gases is called the economizer. Okay, and other one is the air preheater. It heats the air before sending to the furnace. So if the cold air is sent to the furnace, some energy is lost because air also should get heated to that reaction temperature. Okay, so if you are supplying some heated air, preheated air, the efficiency of combustion will be increased. So for that, the air is heated in the air preheater. Before sending to the furnace, the air is heated again by using the heat of waste gases. So heat of waste gases is used for either feed water heating or air heating, air preheating. Okay. So these waste gases are the heat in the waste gases is used for either feed water heating or air heating. Okay. And other one is the superheater. Superheater is not through the waste gases heat. It is directly from the combustion products of burning. Okay. Okay. So it is not from the waste gases. It is directly from the combustion. Okay. So the first things that will be exposed to the radiation of burning is superheater. Okay, so we'll see the superheater, what is a superheater, how it is constructed and where it is located. All these things we'll see. The superheater is basically used for drying the steam and also adding more heat than the saturation point. We'll see all the superheater in another session. So these are the important parts of a typical industrial boiler. Okay, so now how to select characteristics of a good boiler. So a good boiler should have the following characteristics. The boiler should have maximum steam generation rate and the minimum fuel consumption. That means that the efficiency should be high. It should consume minimum fuel and produce maximum steam. Okay, and it can be stopped and started quickly. Very, very important one. Because if any maintenance work is there or any shutdown or anything is there, immediately it should not take days together or hours together to restart. So it's a very, very important characteristic of a good boiler. It should be stopped or started very quickly, and its initial cost, running and maintenance cost should be low. It should not be high, and erection time should be less because it can be easily erected within a shorter period of time, and parts should be easily dismantleable because if any service or anything is required, it should be easily be dismantled. Should have high rate of heat transfer. This is very, very important because especially when there is a fluctuation of loads, Suddenly you need a very high amount of steam, and suddenly you may remove, next moment you may remove, you may require only less amount of steam. So wherever the load fluctuations are there, the load is fluctuating like this, so the response also should be good. That means the high rate of heat transfer is there, the response will be better. So it is and better combustion efficiency. The combustion efficiency is good, and also heat transfer rate should be good, so that the load fluctuation response will be good. This is the point actually. It should be able to accommodate the load variation. So if the load demand is more and you are not able to supply the steam according to that demand in a very short period of time, then it will not be a good boiler. Okay, immediately it should respond to the load variation, and it should occupy less floor space. Obviously, the size matters, and it should be trouble free, and requires less attention and less maintenance. This is also very important. Every time you need to engage some person to check the boiler things, everything, then it is a waste of human resource, and it is difficult to maintain. So you should have a boiler should have some kind of a mechanism. Automatically it should take care of certain things, and less amount of attention and maintenance is required for the boiler. And another one is the soot or scale should not be deposited on the tubes. This is another important thing. What is soot? Soot is that carbon black which is produced while burning. It's like a particle, very fine particles of carbon which will be sticking on the tubes. Suppose there is a tube like this, and on this one here some burning is taking place. The gases are coming. Okay, the gases are coming. So it should not form so much of a soot on this outer surface of the tubes. Okay, so if this is formed, what happens? The heat transfer rate will be decreased. Heat transfer will be decreased. So the soot or scale should not be deposited on the tubes. All the boiler parts should be easily accessible. For cleaning and inspection, and it should conform to the IBR regulation acts. Okay, so here we'll stop this session, and we'll discuss more in another session.